see. There you go. All right, Jackie, you're up.
Hi, welcome back. Welcome back, students. Welcome back, Will. We are so happy to have you on this holiday weekend. He's been around for a while with us,
I have been.
years, I should say now. So
Yep.
I'm gonna pass you the mic and you can introduce yourself, but we welcome you on STEM Friday.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. I think that I'm going to show something that I may have never shown before, which I think is pretty cool. And we'll do this first. Um, and then we'll come back at the end and I'll talk a little bit more about just some other general things that computer scientists can do. But I want to show an example of something pretty cool to start with. Just to get everybody a sense of what you can do as a computer scientist. So I'm going to start this presentation and then I will share this so that you can see it. Okay. Is everybody okay seeing my little dinosaur? If you can see my dinosaur, then I can start. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Jackie. All right. So we are going to talk about stenigo. And stenigo is the stenography stegosaurus. It's easier to tell you about the computer science concepts than it is to even tell you to try to read this name. So it's a mouthful, but we're going to have fun doing this. And before I get started, let me just introduce myself again. I'm Will Hawkins. I'm a professor of computer science at the University of Cincinnati. And my goal is to get you excited about the possibility of also becoming a computer scientist, just like me. Except, unlike me, you're going to do amazing things. You're going to do amazing things. All right, so let's do this. Let's talk about this. Well, what we want to do is we want to hide one image inside of another. So we want to take one image and put it inside another so that no one knows that there's that second image inside of another image. Okay, this is pretty cool. And what we can do with this is that if we have that other hidden image inside, then I can pass you that picture and you can pull back out the hidden image and read or see the other hidden image behind it. So this is a way to pass secrets and to sort of hide things in plain sight. Because I'm going to give you a picture and you're going to be none the wiser that there's something hidden in there, but yet we can pull it back out again and see that hidden image. This is so cool. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, we start by talking about this person named Roy G. Biv. Does anybody know who Roy is?
Aren't they just the primary colors?
That's right. That's right. They're the primary colors. So it stands for what? Red, orange, yellow. Is that right? Green, blue, indigo, and violet. So if you look at a rainbow, you can see Roy up in the rainbow. And what we're going to do, we're going to be dissecting what it means for a computer to display or store an image. And the way the computer does that is each little spot in the image is actually a combination of three of the primary colors. The primary colors that we're going to work with are red, green, and blue. And every spot in our image is going to be some combination of a certain amount of red, a certain amount of green, and a certain amount of blue. Okay, so here's a question. Take a very close look. These are two splotches of color, and it's like a pink color. Do you notice any difference between these two splotches?
Maybe one's darker than the other slightly.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's like there's one that's slightly darker than another, but boy, my eyes, I'm getting old. I pulled a muscle today sitting at my desk, so you can tell I'm getting old, but I can't really see much of a difference at all. But maybe there is. So we'll come back to that in a second. Okay, well, what if instead of having a image with color in it, what if we don't need color? What if instead we wanted to show this kind of an image here? Let's say we wanted to show this kind of an image. Well, instead of having each little spot in the image be a combination of red and green and blue, what we can say is that each little spot in the image is either sort of dark or light, right? So let's zoom in on this a little bit. And when we zoom in, we're going to see an example of this thing I've been talking about. Remember, I've been saying over and over and over again that each little spot in the image we can represent as either, in this case, black or white, or some combination of red, green, and blue. And so what computer scientists call this is a pixel. Each one of these things is a pixel. And you might have heard that term before. You might have heard it like when you buy your new iPhone, it's like, oh, this thing has so many megapixels in it. And that means it can generate images that have that many pixels in them. And that's like a really cool way for us to talk about how clear an image is. So you've probably heard that term pixel before, but what I think is really cool is, do you know where that term pixel comes from? Like, what does that mean, a pixel? I mean, I told you what it means. It means one little spot in the image, but does the word have any meaning other than that? I think this is amazing. Pixel is a term that we're all very used to now these days. Like modern people are like, oh yeah, pixel, pixel, pixel. My TV has pixels, my phone has pixels, my screen has pixels. Pixel is a combination of two words, picture, element. That's all it means. So somebody said, we're going to have a bunch of picture elements. And then they were like, you know what? I'm really lazy. Let me just smash those two words together and turn it into pixel. So now at Thanksgiving dinner, when you're with people, you can be like, hey, I got a fun party joke. Do you know what a pixel means? And you say it's a picture element. Okay, so for a black and white picture, each one of our picture elements is either black or white. That's all it is. Okay, so if we don't need color, we can just do black and white in each pixel. So let's go back and relook at this. So Isabel, you are correct. One of these is slightly darker than the other. These blotches here are 180 amount of red, 57 amount of green, and 102 of blue. This one over here is 181 of red, 57 of green, and 102 of blue. So you can tell. So these, by the way, these numbers are all out of a total of 255. So there can be between 0 and 255 amount of red, 0 and 255 amount of green, and 0 and 255 of 100 of blue. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say, I want to hide this high image in this other image over here. Well, what I'm going to do is, if my high image has a black pixel, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the amount of red in the original image, and if it's an even number, then I'm going to leave it as an even number. If it was an odd number of red, I'm going to make it even. And then if it's the other way around, if I was trying to store a white pixel, I'm just going to make it odd. So what you can see is switching from 180 red to 181 red doesn't cause anything different that we can see, right? Like that's imperceptible to our eye. But yet, the fact that the amount of red is an even number or the amount of red is an odd number gives me enough information to hide whether or not this other image has a black part underneath it or a white part underneath it. All right, so let's take a look at this. Let's see how this works. Well, let's look at an image that we're going to use. And this image is actually going to be the one that we use to hide our data. So let's go here and we will look at here. Okay. So I'm going to take this image right here. I'm assuming that everyone knows on the face of this earth who this person is. This is Taylor Swift, right? And she's like the most popular person in the whole wide world. So at least according to me and my sister and my family. So she's the most popular person in the world. And this is one of her album covers. But we're just going to use this image, okay? And what we're going to do is I want to hide some other image inside of that one. All right. Well, what's it going to be? What's the image that I want to hide? Well, all I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this message that says, all right, this is my other message or my other image that I'm going to hide. And I'm going to save this. Okay, so now I've got Taylor Swift here, and I've got my Stemsational is awesome here. Okay, so I've got my two things here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this code. And this code is going to say, I want you to take the original Taylor Swift image. I want you to combine or smash in our secret message. And then I want you to give me two things. One, I want you to give me the combined image. And then, just to prove that we did it, I want you to pull back out the secret message. Okay? So let's see what happens. All right. Well, this is so cool. Okay, so I encoded the original Taylor Swift image with our secret message about Stemsational being awesome and put it in a file called encoded. So let's open that file up and see what it looks like. So here it is right here, encoded.png, and it says encoded.png, just so you know I'm not lying to you. And look at that. So it's pretty cool because if you look closely, you can't see that there's another image hidden in there. That doesn't look any different, at least to my eyes, than the original Taylor Swift image, right? So let's look at this. This is the encoded one. There's a secret message in this one. And this is the original one, and there's no message in here. So look at this. I don't see any difference. Do you? I mean, I honestly, I can't. Okay, well, that's great. And that would only work or be useful if we can actually get back the original hidden message. So what we're going to do is our software said that we encoded, we hid the image in there. And then we said, well, let's pull it back out and put it in here. Okay, so let's open decoded. There's decoded right there. Again, decoded right there. And let's see. Holy cow, that was in there the whole time. Isn't that awesome? Like, we could give you, I could give you this image right here, all the way in California, and you could pull back out the secret message and know that you were awesome. In fact, we could put any black and white image in there that we wanted to, and we could do the same thing. So this is one of the things that you can do as a computer scientist. And what's really amazing is that you will be able to do this without that much hassle. This is something that's within your grasp of power with not much computer science background. I just told you everything you needed to know about this to be able to do it. And I think that's amazing. So that's going to be most of what I wanted to show you. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was this. So let's go back over here. And I want to tell you that one of the most important things that you can take away from this is that each one of these people on this slide is a computer scientist. And they look like a lot of different people. They're all my friends. Well, okay, except for Admiral Grace Hopper. She's a little bit out of my league as a friend. But the rest of them are. And these are some pretty amazing people. And you can be just like them if you want. I think computer science is an incredible field because to be a computer scientist means you just get to solve problems using a computer. So I think what's really cool about our world today is computers are everywhere. And I'm the kind of person who likes to solve problems. I like to make things easier for people. And because we have computers in our pockets now, we call them a phone, but it's really a computer. We have the ability, if we can work on those things, to help people's lives be that much better. And I think that's amazing. So for me, that's the best part of being a computer scientist, is just getting to solve problems using the computer. So one of the things you can do, we'll just go through this really quickly. One of the things you can do is along the lines of what we just showed you with hiding images in other images, maybe as the point of keeping people's information private. This is another thing you can do. You can protect systems from being attacked. So what I'm going to show you here is a thing that I got to participate in when I was in grad school. And this was, we built a robot and we let the robot try to defend against another robot from hacking it. And we did pretty well. But I just want to show you this really cool visualization here. That this is what our system looked like when it was running. So our system was one of these up here. In fact, it was this blue one right here. This was ours. And these lines coming in are all the different attacks that we're being subjected to. And my job was to make sure that the software on here was able to reject those attacks. And then other people on my team were responsible for trying to get our robot to attack other people too. And so we got to do this. And we had this guy right here. He was the sort of the MC of the show. He was announcing what our systems were doing and telling each other about them. And this is so cool. We learned so much about how to keep people's information safe. It was a huge, huge undertaking. I worked on it for like 2 years. But I think it made people's lives better. All right. So that's one of the things. But here's another one. Here's another one. We've all had our lives changed by this virus. And one of the ways that we were able to get through it so quickly was because of computation and its ability to sequence or look through the genetics of the virus. And so one of the things you can do as a computer scientist is write the software that will go through all of the samples of the virus that have been collected around the world and use algorithms or steps of computation in order to determine whether one little variant of the virus is more deadly or more harmful than another. And that's really important because if it is, we want to prepare a virus or an antivirus against that one and not another one. So in fact, you get to write this code as a student in my class. You would get to write this code as a first-year student in college, which I think is pretty cool. So you get to write this. The other thing that we can do is your software that you write could actually end up going in airplanes. And what's really cool about that is that the computers now in airplanes are so sophisticated that they can actually detect when the pilot has become unconscious. And apparently this happens a lot in airplanes because the airplanes go so fast, they like press the pilot's chest back and they can't catch their breath. So they'll pass out. And they're not hurt or anything. They just don't have enough oxygen. And so they lose consciousness. And the plane will just, keep flying. But eventually, it's possible that the plane's going to run into something. So what these people developed is this system called GCAS. And it's a terrible acronym, but it's Ground Collision Avoidance System, which is kind of scary, right? Like colliding with the ground sounds bad, and you don't want to do that. So what they did was they've installed this system so that if the pilot becomes disoriented and it happens to be flying towards the ground, the plane will automatically sense that the ground is coming up and fly away from it. So what you're going to see here is this is the pilot. This is the camera out of the front of the airplane. And it's the pilot. He can't control the airplane, or she, I think it's a he, but they can't control the airplane because they're unconscious. And so what you see is the airplane is going to start diving. It's diving right now towards the ground very quickly. And you can see it alerting, fly up, fly up, fly up. Well, what happens is the computer takes over, and before this plane could go into the ground, the airplane itself picked up and started flying along the ground. And now that the plane is low enough, the pilot's able to recover. They can catch their breath and get the oxygen back, and then they'll wake up. So this, what you just saw, was a computer saving someone's life, and probably two people, because I would imagine there was somebody behind this person. That's so cool. All right. So what else can we do? Well, we can do this too. This is back to our example or talking about the coronavirus. When we first had the virus, kind of an outbreak, what people wanted to do was to decide how much did we have to keep people away from one another to make sure that the spread of the virus wasn't too extensive. And what they did was they built models of how disease spreads when people wander around an area. And they used this software to generate things that looked like the image on the left. This is software that I wrote that was going to use a little model to talk about if the virus spreads in a certain way, how many cases would happen in so many days. And this is really cool because you kind of see this shape here, right? It goes up real fast and then it comes back down. Well, what we actually found was, in real life, this is what actually happened. This shape over here. So people could look at a model that we made on the computer and say, hey, in like 20 days, we're going to be really in bad shape. So we need to take care of each other up here, right? And they were able to plan ahead. And it actually worked out that way, which I think is so amazing that our software was able to predict that. All right. Well, one other example, we've already seen how to protect images inside of other images. But maybe you prefer text. Maybe you want to send your message as a text over, WhatsApp or Telegram or Snapchat or something like that. Well, what we can do is you can write, as a computer scientist, these things called encryption and decryption algorithms. And this encryption or decryption algorithm that I'm showing you here is like the oldest one. This was done by Julius Caesar. And all Julius Caesar said was, you and I will agree on a number. Let's call it 2. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my part of the message and I'm going to shift every letter by 2. And then I'll send it to you. And no one will know what the message actually says because they don't know how many I shifted it by. So if I want to write a Y, I'll shift it right by 2 and write the letter A instead of Y. Then when you get it back, all you have to do is go the other direction. This is called a Caesar cipher because it's what Julius Caesar used. But it's just one example of what we can do as a computer scientist to help people communicate and keep their information safe. All right. I have talked long enough. Now, it's time for you to ask questions if you have any. So I think that, like I said, being a computer scientist is one of the coolest things that you can do. I know that in the past several weeks, because I keep track of who comes to do the STEMsational presentations, I know that you had some very cool people come give presentations recently, but I think that computer science is very cool and arguably cooler than anything they did. Don't tell them I said that, but that's what I think.
I'm currently taking a computer science A course, an AP computer science A course
Yeah.
in school, and I was actually wondering if you have any resources to help me like practice more or get some more information about it to help me learn
Yeah, are you doing Java or Python?
Java.
Java? Okay. I do have resources and I will send them to you through through you guys, and that way that way I'll just send it to you, and then you can get it um, from the club. Is that okay? Okay, good. I'll send
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's really interesting. The math portion with the random numbers, I got the random numbers, but like incorporating it and the constructors and all of that, all the vocab is so new. It's like
Yep,
learning a whole new language.
it is.
Um,
Yep.
so then that's been a bit tricky, but then the if and the if else and the else if statements and all of that, I've been getting the hang of that. So that's
Good,
cool.
good. And you just all it takes is practice. It's like anything else, it's not that it's just new and different and just a different way to get your mind to think. But once you get it, man, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll send you some stuff. That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm so excited for it. That's awesome.
I have a shy one in the room,
All right.
and she wants to know what kind of jobs do computer scientists hold?
That's a great question. And it's really neat because the best part about it is computer scientists, I think, and this is the other reason I like it. I love learning about new things. I love learning about, lots of stuff that's not related to computer science. But because I have this skill where I can use computers and I can write software, people in all these different fields feel like I can help them. So they want me to help them. They get to tell me about what their field is like, and I get to learn about their field. So, yes, I could probably say that you could have a job writing software all day. Maybe you would work for Uber and write and work on their software, or maybe you would work for Amazon, or maybe you would work for someone else, just writing software. And if that's what you want to do, that's awesome. But what I think is really cool is that there are a ton of other fields out there that need computer scientists to help them. Do you want to be an astrologer? They need computer scientists for that. Do you want to build airplanes? They need computer scientists for that. Do you want to work on biology and making plants grow better? They need computer scientists for that. So really, whatever industry you want to get into, if it's not just purely related to computer science, you can do it as a computer scientist. They're going to want you. And I think that's amazing.
Thank you, she said.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I have a question for myself.
Yeah.
I recently attended an event with the uh, Society of Women Engineers for Pomona, right?
Yeah.
And I had some young ladies at my table that were majoring in computer science, right? And I said, boy, do I have the professor for you. And so they were interested in internships for computer science. So I wanted to ask you about a recommendation for them, or if you know any companies that do internships that they could
Absolutely
apply for.
We do a lot of. So one of the big employers around here in Cincinnati is GE. GE Aviation is a huge employer here. So they hire a lot of people, especially college people, because we have a co-op program. And so that would be one group that's hiring a lot. Who else around here that I think of is probably really well. The other thing for you, I think Anaheim's in Southern California, right? I mean, that's
Yes.
yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. There are a ton of the aerospace contractors in Southern California, in LA, and they are always looking for computer scientists. I can guarantee you that. So I would look at, Northrop Grumman is another company that hires a ton of our students while they're still students to do their co-op education, which is like an internship. And So they're going to be a person, and that company, those contractors are going to be good for people who want to eventually work for the government because they can help them get a security clearance, and they can get on their way to having that security clearance when they graduate, and that will open a lot of doors for future jobs. So I would look in that industry pretty heavily. Does that help?
Yes, it does. And now that you mentioned it, I'm going to ask a question that somebody else may want to know. How about getting security clearances ahead of job searching? You think that that would be something that would benefit?
It would, but I don't think you can do it. So yeah, Jim, Miss Jackie, I'm gonna read your comment in just a second, but I think I know where you're going with it. So the problem is with security clearances, they won't work with you until you have an agency that wants to sponsor you for that. So I can't just go out and get a security clearance. I have to have a job that needs one before I can get it. So if you find one of these internships and they're willing to sponsor you, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. Because then when those students graduate, they'll have that in their back pocket,
Right.
and then they could work for the government. And there are, that's having the combination of computer science and security clearance is like the golden ticket in Willy Wonka.
Oh,
Now, I'm going to go read Miss Jackie's comment here. Yeah. Okay. So this is really a very good question. There is a ton of this now in hospitals where computers are monitoring the distribution of medication, and nurses and doctors will sort of program a pump to deliver medicine. And in fact, when I worked in my previous job right before I came here to be a professor, one of the things we did was we worked on software that would go on some of these pumps. And what we wanted to do was make sure that the software people wrote and put on those pumps or in pacemakers or in anything else is really safe, really secure, and correct. Because I don't want that software to malfunction, right? It's okay if I have to reboot my computer every few days. But if I have to reboot my pacemaker or my insulin pump or something like that, that's pretty bad. Like, I don't want that to happen. So there are more and more now becoming people who are very, very, very concerned about writing software that's correct. Before, you think, well, okay, it's a computer game, or, it's going to help me get on the internet. And yeah, if it crashes, I just turn it back on again. And people kind of write software with the expectation that that was okay. But now we're not able to do that. We're not able to be as fast and loose with whether or not things are correct now that they are driving cars and giving medicines and things like that. In fact, Elon Musk is trying to work with doing implants into the brain. And this is, more computers are going in different places. So, I'm not, first of all, I don't want him anywhere near my head. But number two, if it ever came to that, I would want really to make sure that what they're putting in there is correct. So this is becoming a big deal. So that's a great question.
anybody else? I know Isabel and Sophia has another question somewhere.
Well, I'm excited. So excited to hear that Isabel is taking AP. I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Oh, and I didn't even see Sophia come in.
Yeah,
Hi. And Daniel, of course. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, Mari's in the background.
Okay, all right.
So, Isabel's a senior now, right? Yeah, she's graduated. You remember? Now see, it's been a while.
Can't believe that.
I
Yeah.
know.
And then you've got cousins in people in your family who are going on to things too, right?
Yeah, my nephew is graduating this year as well with Isabel.
Yep.
My youngin, she got a couple of more years.
Good.
Ooh, good.
Yeah, right. Stay home. Stay home.
Yeah. Well, she asked me to teach her how to drive, and I'm like, oh, is it that time already?
Yep. Yep.
So it is.
Yep. All right. Well, why don't we do this? If there are any questions that people have,
Yep,
you all have my email address. And what I will do, Isabel, is I will send you some resources, if that's okay, that will help you.
that would be great.
Okay. All right.
All right.
And if the students from the SWE group are interested in talking to people from our SWE group at UC for any reason, they want to link the two clubs up. We've got a big SWE group here. So feel free to put them in touch with me and we can get those groups linked up.
Oh, that would be perfect because we actually collaborated. We, as the women of AT&T, we collaborated with them recently. So love to expand, right?
Yeah, that would be great. If you want to, if we could do put these two clubs together somehow and get
Sure.
something going, that'd be great.
Right. I'll reach back out to you. I'm gonna stop this. So let's